Hey everyone, what is up? Welcome back to the series on how to build threads from scratch. In today's episode, we're going to wrap up the search page like we started from the last episode. Right now we have all the sections, but this search doesn't actually do anything. So we're going to make this searchable by whatever's in this search field. And then we're going to do mentions. So right now we don't have mentions, but the idea is that you can mention someone in a post, and just like we could click on world, we'll be able to do the same thing with mentions to see who that user is, and then it'll also show up in this mention section. So yeah, let's get started. So first thing we're going to do is tags. So we got tags. Right now we can click on them. Not all of them. These are a lot of testing, obviously. So not all of them are associated with a post. But the idea is that in the future that there's going to be a lot more than whatever we got here, 10 tags. They will all be associated with posts, and then you'll be able to click them and then search them. So right now, we're going to put something similar to what we have in... Wait, we're using a search field somewhere else, and now I'm forgetting where. Oh, Giphy. So just right now, how we have like test. See there, that delay is on purpose, so we're not like bombarding the Giphy API because there's only allowed 100 API calls per day, I believe. We want to do the same thing with our own database. We don't want to be spamming our own Supabase account with calls in every single text input. So we're going to use that same debounce function that we used, and let's just search it in Giphy and places. So we're going to do the same thing, debounce, and then pass it into user location. So actually, let's just copy and paste that. And then we're going to go to our tag section. Oh, import debounce, set search. And actually, our search field is in the parent component, which, now that I'm thinking about it, we may or may not want, but right now, let's just pass it in from the parent component and leave it in there. And the reason I say that is because you don't want to be, it's right here. We don't want to be like, okay, if we're searching for tags, we don't also want to be calling the user's search as well. So we might switch it up, but for right now, it's fine. Okay, so we got use debounce. Let's import debounce here instead. So we got set search, set to null. We have 500 milliseconds, passing in search, and then we're going to pass in this search to our component. So the first one's going to be, we'll just wait off on the other ones. The first one's going to be tags. And so if we do tags, let's pass in search, remove debounce. Let's just console log search for right now to make sure it's logging. Wrong tab. Let's see. Saving. Oh, it would help to actually put any functionality on the actual input field first. Search value. I don't know if we need value. Okay. And see how it logs the same thing? It's not logging every keystroke. It is logging every keystroke, but it's not passing in each letter separately. So that means that because we're going to use our use tags function and it's going to pass in here as search, because this is the same, it's not going to recall the same function. Even though it's logging multiple times, it's not going to recall use tags every time. So this is one of the many cool things about 10-stack query. Okay, so we're going to pass in our search and pass it in as a query key. And so that query key will be the same for 1, 2, 3, 4, like 10 calls here. And what we want to do is we're going to create a new function called search tags. We're not going to pass it in here. We're going to do if search exists, then call search tags, otherwise call get tags. And it's going to be a little different because it's select. It's just select, but it's inherently doing star. So that's the same thing. Text search. Honestly, that's not what I was going to use, but I'm curious if that works. What I was going to do is there's a function called is like. or is it I like? What we want is if it just types in WHA, this what should be returned, and anything that contains that should be returned. Let's see. I want to see what this returns actually. So search tags. And then in tags, let's actually pass it down. So search. Test. It does work. What if we do TES? Does that still get returned? See, that's where the difference is. If we type in the whole thing, that does get returned. But what I wanted was TES to also get returned that same tag. So let's find the query is equal to, is not equal to, is greater, is less than, matches the pattern. Oh, that's what I wanted right here. Okay, so you have to pass in the key. We're already passing in name and then these little symbols, moduluses. So surprisingly, that did work, but I want dot like name search. And then if we try it again, test, see how it gets returned. And this doesn't have any posts, but perfect. Okay, that's exactly what I want for tags. And then it still returns this default. So because it's already storing this, it's not calling get tags again, but it has it cached, so I could just return it. So we want to do the same thing for, so what I'm curious about is if we type in search, the next thing I have to do is search users. Let's do places first, actually, that's gonna be easier. Okay, so we got index, search, debound search, save it, search, and then let's update our use places hook. Do the same exact thing. Export on search places, query on search. Yep, exactly the same thing. So right now we got only 3 places, so let's call it MIS, Mr. 01, perfect. Then, since users is a little different, let's do this one next. So this one's calling use user, and this already has 2 functions, so we do have to change this up a little bit. Get user and get users. So this one's doing equals ID, that's going to get a single user. And then this one's returning the most recent users, or yeah, the 20 most recent users. We only got 1, so it doesn't really matter. Then we're going to call search users, where the username is like. And then here we want to do return it as a key in here. I don't know why this one keeps yelling at us. And then RE. This one's a little harder to search because there's only one option. It's hard to tell if it's actually working or not. Reggie. Okay, let's. Oh, also we're not passing it down. Also, that would help. And then update our users. Use user. Search. Undefined insert. Why is it saying undefined? Use user. Oh, because if it passes in. So let's name our params. So that we can do, if I could find my page that I'm looking for. So that we don't have to pass an undefined, we could just do search. But then that means we also have to update wherever this is getting called somewhere else. Here. Okay, test. Okay, use user. Okay, nothing's getting defined, so that's expected. So test query cannot be defined. Return another value other than defined query function. User search test null. What is null? Search is null on the other page. That's why. We could just turn this into a key, actually. Oh. Okay, users, and then test. Okay, returns nothing. That's good. And then where else are we using it? That's actually where it was throwing the error, not this page. It was throwing the error on right here. So screens.user. Okay, screens.user, that works. And then if we go here, okay. So, okay, now we got search working. That's good, actually. That's cool that you could just flip between different users, places. So I could do MIS. Yeah, Mr. 01. If there was a tag, it would return it as well. If there's a user, return it as well. Maybe not super optimized in terms of it is hitting the database 3 times, but it is cool functionality. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is mentions. Let's close out some of these tabs so it's not super confusing. So what we want to do is be able to create a new post. Right now it's test, no, hashtag test. And then see how it gets bold. I'm going to do like @Tim. So what I want to do is actually, here, I think I have, yeah. I have a screenshot of what it looks like on Threads. It has this pop over and then it has all the users. And it looks like it will suggest the people that you're following. So they don't necessarily have to follow you back to mention them. I think messages might be a little different. You might have to be friends with them, aka you follow each other to send, but whatever. For following, we have that array of following already. So use following. But remember, I commented this out because I knew eventually we are going to need to return the actual user as well. Right now, we're returning the ID and checking if we're already friends with them, like following dot includes our user ID, and that allows you to like friend or unfriend a person or follow or unfollow a person. We're only need to return the full data as well, though. So right now we're just doing follow ID, but we're going to want to join on the user again. And we want to be able to bold this. So first, for the glue stack thing, they do have a popover that is similar to this right here. But what I actually want to use instead is this action sheet and like loop through the users here and then be able to click one of them and then include them in the mention. And that will allow us to add a mention to our database table of mentions that doesn't currently exist. But this action sheet of users, we're actually going to use in a couple different places. So this is going to be the first time we're going to use it. And I just like the way it presents it a little bit more. It takes the focus away from the top, so there's an action to be taken. First thing we're going to do is actually bold it. So we already created this, if I could find it, this input, UI input, no, input, screens post. And then it says if it starts with the hashtag, then return this item that bolds it and differentiates from the rest. I think since it's already an array of text, we can do the same thing with the @ symbol. But I'm not 100%. Oh, there you go. Okay, that was quick, actually. at him. Yeah, perfect. And then testing, hashtag hello. All right, perfect. That's exactly what we want, actually. But this doesn't do anything actually outside of just making the UI bold. It won't make it clickable. It won't add a tag to it. So we're going to have to update some of this. So right now it does post/tag. So we're going to have to differentiate. This is probably going to be two different sections, actually. If it's a hashtag, then send to this section. If it's an @ symbol, then we're going to have a different route. So we're not going to have to do an if-else statement. Okay. So before we get to that, actually, we're going to have to actually add the mention to the post. How do we want to do this? We have, what we're going to show is users. So what we want to do is actually, if there's this @ symbol typed out, we're going to want to like display that action sheet that I just showed you and show them the options of the people they're following to mention in the post. So let's do that first, actually. So in components, oh man, UI, that's long. We have this bottom sheet already that we were showing on the profile. What we're going to do is just copy and paste this one and create a new sheet called user. Yeah, user sheet, that makes sense. .tsx, paste it. And instead of doing a logout button, we're going to want to do a user. So we want to loop through users here. So we do want to pass down users. We don't need this one. Don't need this. Thinking maybe we could do use user. No, actually use following. So let's do following. Let's just find use following wherever the hell it is right now. Okay, this use following. First, we're going to have to update this query. So select following user ID, select all. Following user ID. Let's see what that returns. Comes log data. So we're actually using this in a couple different places. So we're definitely going to break a few things, that's for sure. User sheet. Let's import use following. Const user. So we can pass in our user ID to get who we're following. We don't need this because it's only going to be one. And then we can call it. We're already logging it, so we don't need to do it twice. And then this is going to show in, where do we want to show this? So right now we have this show action sheet. And we're showing this in the profile. And just like the profile, we're going to do the same thing. So where do we want to show this? We want to show this in the thread. So post index. I think, yeah, we're going to show it in here. And again, it doesn't really matter where we show it because it takes over the whole screen. So we're going to do user sheet. We're going to create our own set action sheet. React dot. You're right, bottom sheet doesn't exist, but the user sheet does. Okay, so how do we prompt this? I forgot to mention this hashtag button doesn't actually do anything right now because they're doing a little bit different. It shows it automatically. So we could replace this hashtag button with a mention instead, which I like more. So hashtag, what's the @ symbol? Oh, this is in card, so we have to put it. And we could pass this down into the card instead. I think it should still work just as good. Let's see. And then move our stuff into the card. See how many times we can break the emulator. Okay, and then in here, show action sheet true. And then lucid icons, at symbol. At sign, okay. Import. Oh, we're definitely doing lucid icons. What are we doing? Okay. At sign. Okay, so now if we do this, it's shown behind it. Interesting. Okay, so maybe that's not gonna work. Okay, found a fun little bug. Notice that it wasn't showing up. The popover isn't showing up. Why? That actually is showing up, but it's showing up behind, just like the other action sheet. So I honestly think there's a bug in GlueStacks. I did this already and it was working just fine. But for right now, just to get this working, we could change it to this post or this new thread to a not a modal presentation, and now it shows above. And now that's actually working. I want to go back to the other action sheet that we had because I just like it more than this popover. And just like we were putting the button profile, yeah, oh, that's a different page. Just like we were putting the button in the popover, we could actually do the same thing with the action sheet just so it's cleaner and more consolidated. Okay, so we go to, where are we going? Cards. So user modal. So I do want to put in this pressable event. User modal. Okay, we could put in, so we keep it separate. Let's import pressable and @ sign. And now we could create our is open. No, we don't need all this. Just set is open and then toggle it on and off. And then so this section will show and hide. But this button will always show. And then we go to card again. And oh, we gotta remove this inputs. And then if we try it again, okay, that does work. Super annoying. I'm gonna figure out what that bug is, but for right now, as I continue on the tutorial, we have this little popover working. So let's clean up this formatting a little bit. Okay, so instead of sign out, we want to get the users or get our following, which we're actually already logging. So oh, interesting. I want to fix the use following a little bit. I'm gonna close. What is this camera card? Oh, save. And close everything because it's too much crap open again. Okay, so following user ID. I think we just do. user ID. I guess it was fine before, but it's just long. Okay, so following user, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so now we got the full array of data, and this is what's getting returned to the front end. So we want to loop through those and show them down here. So let's do that. So first off, it's going to look similar to this. So we go to activity and copy that real quick. Maybe to hopefully make this a little faster than it's going so far. Run into a lot of bugs. Okay, so we got follows. So maybe this whole H stack for now. And then in user modal, let's just show action sheet text. Action sheet text is sign out. Action sheet item is this whole section. So I think action sheet item log out into the this is getting messy. Cannot find avatar. We don't need the date here, so we don't need this. We just need text. No corresponding. Okay, so action sheet item, action sheet content. I just put it in the wrong section. Okay. Whew. Okay, so now we gotta loop through. Also it says it can't find H stack. What? Oh. What the hell happened there? So now we gotta loop through. So we could do a flat list. So W full on it. Wait. This definitely needs to be cleaned up a little bit. For sure. So flat list. Data. Render item. This is the item to be rendered. Let's see how many errors we run into now. I think we might have to do map through it instead. I forgot about that. Yeah. Okay, it's still not what we want, but at least it's not throwing an error. Yeah, it's yelling at you because you have multiple scrollable items. So I guess this action sheet is naturally scrollable, so yet another thing we're gonna have to fix, but at least it's not erroring out on us. It's not showing what we want either. But so we got data. So it'd be data dot. So it'd just be item dot username. So it'd be item dot ID, item dot username. I don't know why we're showing username twice, but okay, there we go. Action sheet item text. I don't know if we need that or not. I think we can. All right, log out. We don't want that, but we do want a button. All right, let's put this back in an H stack, even though I just removed it. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Item center. Make this a little bit size. No. Huh, does that work? Oh, wow. And then let's just do select or something. Send. Because that's eventually what we're going to use it for. To be able to send messages to this person. Does not need to be red. And it can be a little bit bigger. I don't want blue either. Okay. This is definitely a little bit more complicated than I thought it was going to be. But I think it's looking better. Okay, clean this up. This is what happens when you add a bunch of features. It starts to get a lot more complicated than you initially thought. What else is new? Oh, this flat list. That's why. Oh my goodness. This should be imported from React Native, not React Native gesture handler. That's why it wasn't working. Ask me how I know. Ran into that bug a million times. That's where ChatGPT actually slows you down. Okay, so we got our like a little list. It pulls in our following. What we're going to do is on click. So on press, we also want to add it to a mention. So we're going to have to do you can only mention one person in a post. So let's update our schema real quick. So we could create another model, but I like restricting it to just one mention per post, just like we're going to do one hashtag per post. So we could do mention user ID and then mention user. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know. Mentions. Yes, okay. No. Post relation mention user. Man, ChatGPT is our cursor is struggling today. Okay, let's do MPX Prisma format. See if we get any errors. Nope. Okay. Remember, it's optional. Yes, okay, it's optional. We got our association between mention user on mention user ID, and then we have to add this mentions. Yeah, because this user could have multiple mentions, which is a post and is associated with the mention user. Okay, perfect. MPS Prisma DB push. And then let's restart. Okay, so we already have in our post provider, we have this update post. So now we're just going to have a key of mention user ID, and then on update post, or at least on the @ symbol part, check for mentions. No, we don't need to do that one because it's not going to create a hashtag on the fly. It's not like we're going to create a user. We're just going to tag them. Let's fix this because our emulator keeps showing a white screen when we do a change. We want to create another function in our user modal. We could do const mention user. Actually, we could just pass down update post. from our card. So if I could find post. Okay, post card, what are we calling this? We're calling user modal. Okay, we have access to this post. We got update post. We can import it, or we can just pass it down. Honestly, either work. But since we only need update post, I guess that's fine. Update post takes in an ID, a post ID, a parent ID. So we do need to pass down post ID as well. So post, let's pass in the whole thing. User modal, post, import our type from, nope, lib types. Okay. And then update post, mention user ID. And then we want to do the item.id. And let's just log everything to make sure. So console.log. We could just do the whole thing right here to make sure we're getting the right thing. Okay, so we have this post. Let's add a key because it's yelling at us. So key equals item.id goes away. Add symbol, click. We got the post ID, which it should be the key that we want to update with the user ID. Okay, so it looks good. Let's do that. Let's do first mention post. We also have to do the functionality to do the add symbol, but let's just make sure it gets associated because we're not going to show it on the UI just yet. So it should be associated, but we shall see in a second. If we reload, that worked. But then if we go to the database, reload, here's the moment of truth. Mention user ID. Nice. Okay, so then we could do, to show it like we do here, we do need to update the UI on the post. So next thing we need to do is the @ symbol. So what we're doing for hashtag, so what actually, what do we want to do? What do we want to do? What we want to do is on this press, you also want to update the content with this. I wonder. Post ID text. Yeah, I mean, you technically could. I don't know if it's going to let us. So @ symbol. Yeah, see, that's what I wanted. But what I think is going to happen is if testing and then we do it, it's going to remove the text that we have. Yeah. So what I want to do is maybe post post.text. You want to do like .concat, but I don't think that's going to work. Testing. Ah, look at that. Okay. And then set is open to false. Let's start from scratch. Hello, yo, React. No, we also have to do that for typing if we want to do that functionality. But what I'm trying to do right now is just do @ nice, and then post. Yo, React Native nerd. Okay, so one more thing, almost there. So make sure that worked again. Oof, I don't know if that one worked. First mention post. Wait, did it not post at all? Maybe. No, it did. So it's this one. Did not work. Okay, I did have to update something on the update post. So before we were calling update post 2 times, and it would only call the second item. So what we did is we changed it to an array. And so it loops through all the updates it needs to make on this ID. So right now we have to update with text and just add concat with username, and then also add the mention ID at the same time. And so in here we have update post and just looping through the updates. So you could pass in multiple key value pairs. So let's try this again. Make sure everything takes place. Do new post, hello, and then do at React Native Nerd. We could see down here, React Native Nerd, and then mention user ID. Okay, let's post it. Let's reload. Let's check the database. And that should be this one. Hello, React Native Nerd. Okay, perfect. We got our user ID, but it's not clickable yet. So also we want to do is go to our input on post. And then we want to do, so it's already making it bold, but we don't want to go to post / tag. Okay, technically could do if post, if it starts with a hashtag, then go to post. Otherwise, go to users and tag. Let's make sure the tag is right. Username. We're gonna have to update our route a little bit to get a user page information by the name. So username slice. Okay, so let's go to our user. Not that one. User row. So this is, oh, we renamed it to profile. So profile view. So right now when we click on Tim, it's going to post view. It's going to / user ID. Okay. And then that's going to user. Okay. What we need to do, maybe pass in username, since that's the only thing we have access to on this tag. Oh wait, no, we have mention ID, actually. So how do we get mention user ID on that input? So we're looping through the text array, render text. Render text is calling in post view. So it's only calling, okay, it's calling in 2 places. What we need to do is make it optional. We don't need to pass it in here, but we do need to pass it in here. Okay, so let's do text array and then post. Sure, we can just do post, the whole post. And let's change it here. And then also we, of course, need to change our input here. So post is going to be optional. But then we have access to post dot. I can't read this. Okay, so we got access to post.user ID. Oof, that did not like that at all. If no text array, oh, that's why. Console log, text array, undefined. Text array just wasn't saved. Okay, going to the wrong one. So almost there. So close, yet so far. So text array, and then not the post.user but the mentioned post.mention user ID, which we did not add on the new post type. So let's save this real quick. Make sure it works. Nope. Post. Adios mio. Are you kidding me? Just spelled it wrong. What? Why is this? Oh my goodness, what's going on? Mention user ID. Okay, there we go. I was just spelling it wrong, of course. Okay, so now we got it. After a lot of work. So now I got this hashtag world goes to the post. This goes to the actual user. And now we could create posts with a user. So now the only bug was like now turning this into a different type of view. But I'm going to look into that. It's definitely a bug with maybe GlueStack, honestly, because it's showing everything behind the modal view, which was not always the case. But we got all of this information. So now, last thing we got to do to wrap up this very long episode is just show it in this mentions section. So now we could do this, remove that log. So we can use the same use post. So now, since I put the placeholder in from the other episode, so we got tabs, activity, mentions. We do const data, not use query, use posts. No. For some reason, cursor is not playing nicely today. So use post where mention user ID equals our user ID. Let's import our user. Let's import our provider. Wow, but I got that right for the first time. And then let's pass in data. And then our post view. So it's going to be the same exact post view we've been using everywhere. Let's do actually, we're not mentioned in anything, so it's not going to show anything. Let's log out. Let's actually, I think that's the user we just had, so let's try this one. Mentions. Hey, look at that. Okay, finally. So now we got our mentions, and this is our profile. We're logged in as React Native Nerd. And then if we go in here, now we should show Tim because we're following Tim. Woo. There we go. Mentions. That was a long one. A few bugs, specifically with this view and the GlueStack. But now we can add a bunch of users into this once we get more users on the platform and be able to easily show that. So there's our episode. We got all the main functionality. I think the last thing I want to do is actually make this like a little send button clickable. I probably want to update this hashtag. So we updated it here to the @ symbol and just clean up things and start looking into messages, how to send messages. So that's really the last main part that we don't have. So hope you join me for the next one and see you next time. Peace.